Hey, welcome back to Crimes and Closets. This is Christy in my closet in St. Louis.
And hi, I'm Emery, Christy's husband, right next to Christy here in St. Louis.
Oh, yes, in the closet.
In the closet, or wherever we are.
Yeah, you don't know, actually. Anyway, we are on here. Last week, Beth and Wes did our little intro because we just couldn't get it together to get on together and do it. Because life is just stinking busy, and we were supposed to try and do a Father's Day episode, and that didn't happen either. So anyway, just too busy, lots going on, always, eh?
We just appreciate the outpouring of demand for a Father's Day episode, because us husbands sometimes feel completely left out and uncreative, and so nice to join you, even this way.
Yeah. Last year, people reacted really well to it, so we did want to try and do it again, but just life. Yeah. Life happens.
Yeah.
Speaking of life, we have so many trips coming up.
It is really wild. I don't know. You traveled, I guess, when you graduated college. You got to see a bit of the world. I didn't do any of that until much later in life, and it seems like every summer, kind of each week is scheduled out for us with a lot of trips associated with my job, and but some really cool places that we'll get to see this summer.
Yeah. We are going to Minnesota.
Beautiful north. It is actually beautiful this time of year, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where else are we going?
Well, you're going to Washington State while I go to the Ozarks.
Ooh.
Which one's better?
All right, we're going to pop up a poll for our listeners. Would you rather go to A, Washington State, beautiful Washington State, or B, the Ozarks?
Ding, 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 ding. I know the answer.
You choose. Yeah, that's one of our divide and conquers, because there's just more than one thing going on at once.
Yep. And then Ireland.
Ooh, that's been on my bucket list for a long time. I'm just a huge fan of water and green. And I grew up in a place in Alaska that had water and green. In fact, I grew up on an island in Alaska that was called the Emerald Isle for its greenness, which is also a nickname for Ireland, probably that Kodiak, Alaska stole from Ireland. But
I don't
really
think I
excited.
knew that.
Yeah.
That was the nickname.
Yeah, at least that's what we called it. So we get to see the real thing this time. And that is unique because we're going on that trip without any kids.
Ooh, I'm so excited about that.
We still have kids. We're just not taking them on that trip.
Yes. I think it'll be a much needed break after all the other craziness in life. So anyway.
And then Dominican Republic, me and our middle son.
Yeah, you get to go there. Oh, and
Paris, France, which I've also never been to, for the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
But as I've hurriedly and last minute, according to some people, planned the details, have realized that we're there for like the first 5 days of the Olympics, so there's really not much happening. But we'll be able to buy T-shirts and act like we're there.
Hey, you were there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you were there for the first 5 days or the middle or the end. You were there for the Olympics. And this is our 10-year-old's 10th birthday trip.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that I'll be here while that's happening, guys.
Right in the closet.
Think about that. Just kidding. It'll be awesome. You guys will have a great time.
We feel very blessed to see all these places and experience these things, especially with kids as they grow. They're pretty lucky. So are we.
Yep, that's for sure. You know who's not lucky?
I don't know.
People we talk about on this podcast.
Oh, yeah. People who die?
Yes. Or do bad things that they shouldn't do.
Or do terrible things.
Or, anyways, there's a doozy coming up for you. So if you so choose to stick with us, then please do that. Emery will not be with me. Beth will be with me on the episode. So
you should listen to the whole thing, because these two are just great. And if anyone ever wonders this at all, they are just as sweet and just as great of friends authentically as they sound like, which is, I think, one of the reasons that you all love them so much. But it's really true. It's really true.
No, thank you. We appreciate it. We appreciate you guys, and we appreciate all of our listeners. Thank you for joining me.
Okay. Bye.
Stay tuned. Here we go. Okay. Today's case was suggested by Nicole over on Instagram. She had actually sent, I don't know if you remember this, but like was just like listing all these cases. And I think it was probably you, because you're the one that usually always writes back, but it was like, do you have one of these that you really
Oh, it was me. I remember her. Yes, I remember her. Which will be us, Nicole. Thank you. We will keep them,
Right.
but we couldn't put them all on the list. Like the way that we kind of work and formulate our list and like the back and forth stuff, it was like, well, let's take a pause and we'll do one or two that, yeah. Anyway, but thank you.
Well, we need to like write all of those other ones down somewhere so that we don't forget to go back and see like if we need a case sometime, like because we might be like, who was it that said all those cases?
I will do that. I'm making a note at this time I'm making a note to make a note.
Okay. So if one of us is like, okay, I ran out, I don't have any that I can do.
You think that'll ever happen?
Well, I don't know, because I was going through, I'm far down my list right now because I have several on my list that are like pending right now and I don't want to do them. And so it's like, I might get there and be like, I can't do it. Or I got to read a book and I just don't have time or whatever. Anyway. So.
Right. Or you're just not feeling that case at that time and you want to have another option. I got you, girl.
Exactly.
I got you, Nicole. Christy. I'm here for you.
All right. So she said this was an interesting case and I happen to agree. I went into this case basically thinking one way because, like you initially Google and you see like information about it and you're like, oh man, what an asshole. And I've never said that on the air before, but
I didn't even notice.
But I do think it like, okay. And then I'm to the point right where I'm not sure what to think. And so
it's going to be one of those Mondays.
Yeah. I'll be interested to hear what your thoughts are and what our listeners think about it. I did ask Nicole, but she has not written back. So unfortunately we won't get her opinion in on this right now. But anyways, so it's not going to be the usual case either because there is no murder.
Oh. Yeah. Interesting.
Kind of a breath of fresh air, but you
won't.
No
murder, but an asshole? Okay.
Yeah. Well, because you won't like the crimes that happened in this case either. Because there are crimes, but it's just nobody was murdered. So
I don't like any crimes.
Well, no. I don't know. Some are fine.
Petty crimes.
Yeah. What's that one that Jess on
Criminal Mischief?
Criminal Mischief. That's fine. It's fun.
As long as you're not hurting anybody or yourself.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, okay. So we're heading to Oklahoma for this one. Oklahoma City, to be exact. Okay. But first, we're going to start in a small town called Enid, Oklahoma.
Okay. I actually know of that town. That's weird. Why?
Did
you go there or something?
I didn't go there, but I met a whole bunch of people from there when we went on a trip like last summer. So I don't know. Maybe I talked about it. I don't know. But it's a smaller town.
Okay.
And well, actually, I'm lying still. We're really going to start in Japan.
Oh, well, that's far from Oklahoma. Okay.
It is. Okay. So Eric Holtzclaw was in the Air Force and stationed in Japan. And this is where he met Kumiko, a beautiful woman who was also a police officer that was from Japan.
Okay.
Their relationship started with talking about the similarities and differences in law enforcement between like Japan and the U.S. And before they knew it, they were in love and married and welcoming their first daughter, Julie, into their family.
Boom.
Yes. They would eventually move to California, where daughter number 2, Jennifer, came along.
Okay.
And then another move to Guam would then welcome their third child, Daniel, to the family on December 10th. Yes, 1986.
Okay. Interesting.
The family would eventually move to Enid, Oklahoma.
Okay. Well, okay.
Japan, California, Guam, Enid.
Guam. Okay.
Okay, so Daniel's dad, Daniel, Jennifer, and Julie's dad would become a lieutenant in the Enid Police Department.
Okay.
Daniel went to Enid High School and was one of the stars of the football team there. He put everything he had into football and aspired to play in the NFL someday. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of kids that are out there that will say that. Yeah.
100% I have one. Yeah, it's his life goal, and he truly believes that it will happen.
Right.
It's great.
And it is great, and you're not going to squash those dreams, but like the percentage of it actually happening for most of these kids is like 0.1111.
I don't even know. I'm probably less than that, but honestly, I don't want it for him.
Well,
Like that
yeah,
lifestyle and all that stuff. Like I don't.
Right. Yeah.
Of course, I want him to be happy, but I don't want him to like be crippled by the time he's 40 years old and like have more money than God.
Yeah, and after I watched the Aaron Hernandez documentary on Netflix and then saw all the research on the brain stuff with those football players, I don't want anything to do with football. Okay, so anyways, Daniel actually probably did have a much bigger shot than most of our kids will have going to that.
Okay, nice.
Okay, so he received a scholarship to Eastern Michigan University, which was a Division I school, and he was a linebacker for the program, and he was All-American as a freshman.
Wow, as a freshman.
Yeah, so he's pretty good. He graduated with a degree in criminal justice in 2010. The Detroit Lions also in 2010 invited him to their rookie camp.
Mm-hmm.
And so Daniel did think, as most people did, that he had a chance to actually be drafted since he was invited to that. However, when the final draft name was called that year, it was not Daniel. So his dream was officially squashed.
Wait, so you can't try again?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could, but there's just so many like all-stars coming out of schools these days that it's probably like, well, where are you going to play now? Like, unless you're going to go and like truly play for a team, like you're not playing really once you graduate.
Yeah, so you have that year off, which is like a blemish on your.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're really into it and you're just like, let me come out, like, and you're like pushing, which he just didn't do it. He was like, I didn't make it. Okay. So now
I'm going to be a high school coach. I'm kidding.
No, he didn't do that. He was extremely disappointed, but he decided to use his degree because he got it in criminal justice. Okay. And follow in both of his parents' footsteps and become a police officer.
Okay, got it.
He joined the ranks in 2011 with Oklahoma City. He continued to take fitness very seriously and was like very large man, like large as in like all muscle man. He was like 6'1", huge. His sisters said he always had a big heart when he was growing up. He was loving, nurturing, and humble. He was very religious, went to church every Sunday regularly, found a girlfriend at one point who was interested in fitness and church. And he would send her like Bible, like videos of Bible verses during the day, whatever, text them to her.
I know that's supposed to make you feel wholesome, but for some reason, I don't like that. Like sometimes I feel like people who like send you Bible verses throughout the day are a little sketchy or something.
Yeah, they could be. I mean, there's definitely that stigma like that people don't like it.
It's too much.
Like that. Yeah, it could be too much.
It's extra.
But if she's just as into it as he is and it's like something that she enjoys, then I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, to each.
But I agree. I'd be like, all right, after like 5 days, enough.
Yeah, like you love Jesus. I get it.
I get it.
Yeah.
So, okay. Anyway, in his first 3 years on the force, he had 19 use of force incidents, but he was cleared of all of them.
Okay.
So they would eventually, like, I guess, find out, like, well, okay, so he was a little bit aggressive, but it wasn't like anything that went over the line, I guess. So.
Didn't they originally clear, oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name?
Oh, I can never think of his name either because I just don't ever want to remember his name.
Yeah, like the big, huge, terrible, awful murder, essentially.
But yeah. I think initially, I don't even know. Anyway. Daniel people would describe him as being aggressive, but he was just doing what he needed to do in the area that he was assigned. Because apparently where he was, I can't remember what area of Oklahoma City it was like known to be a rough area. So he needed to be a little bit more aggressive in his tactics, per se. I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm just saying that was the feeling at the time. On June 18th, 2014, in the early morning hours, a woman named Janie Liggins reported an incident with a police officer. Janie was a 57-year-old mother of 4, grandmother of 12, and a daycare owner. Around 2 a.m., she was driving home from a night of playing dominoes with her friends. Like,
dominoes, cute.
how much
Okay.
more wholesome can we get right here?
Yeah.
She was pulled over by Officer Daniel Holtzclaw,
Okay.
who said that she was swerving.
Oh,
That's why he pulled her over. And he questioned her about the cup of Kool-Aid she had in her cup holder and was like, is there alcohol in it? Have you been drinking? And she was like, no, there's no alcohol in there. I've not been drinking.
and she really hadn't been.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Okay.
During this stop, he found out that she had an expired license, and he would then let her off with a warning. Like, get that fixed. Be on your way.
Right. Okay.
Janie then said that this officer made her expose herself and proceeded to sexually assault her and force her to perform sexual acts on him. Basically, like, that's why I'm letting you go, because you're going to do these things for me.
Okay.
Janie stated that she was afraid for her life. She knew he had a gun and thought that he would kill her. She was afraid to even look at his face or like his name tag. So she never saw his face, she said.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, that
Or
would
his
be an
badge.
extreme abuse of power.
Right. Yeah. The officer then let her go, which she was surprised about. And because I think in the interview that I saw of her, she like thought he's going to shoot me as I'm walking back to my car. Like, leave no witnesses kind of thing, which he didn't.
So did he put her in his car? Did this happen like on the side of the road out like on the side of her vehicle?
There was like multiple things that were said. One report said it was inside his car. The other said it was like as he was standing outside his car with the door open. So he was like standing behind the door with the door open. I think it was outside the car. Because then there was like she had stated that her hands were on top of the car at one point and whatever. So I think it was when the door was open, he was outside his car.
Okay.
The officer then lets her go and she goes straight to her daughter's house, tells her daughter all about it, and after a little bit is convinced that she needs to go report him. So she does.
Okay.
There was only one issue though in what she said. She said the officer had blonde hair. Daniel does not. Daniel has very dark hair.
Okay.
But that's the only inconsistency in her story. She's like very big, muscular man, blonde hair, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
He doesn't have blonde hair. Anyway, they know it was him because he admits that he pulled her over. And there's also like, there is a CCTV footage that shows them. It's not clear at all. It shows the two of their cars like in the street. But you can't see anything except that she was being pulled over. So you can't see anything else to corroborate her story at all in this footage. But they know that he did. Stop there. Okay. So as stated, she didn't know. She didn't see his name, his face, nothing. She did, however, let the police know that he had an all-black squad car. And this was important because the department was just switching over. They had black and white squad cars and they were switching over to all black. And Daniel was one of the few officers that had one of the newer cars already.
Okay. So if we have a newer car, do we have dash cam footage?
All of that was turned off because he was technically, which I haven't gotten to, off duty.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. It actually, that's what the 2020 on this one was called, is what the Dashcam Never Saw. It's also 2014, so, I mean, I'm sure they had them.
Yeah.
I don't know when that started.
I mean, back when we were... I don't know.
2014 seems so long ago.
It's 10 years.
Anyway.
We were in our 30s, honey. I'm pretty sure they had it.
Yeah, probably. Okay, just kidding. Dumb. I'm an idiot. Anyway, okay.
I agree. It feels like a long time ago.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so she said that he had an all-black car, said he was a muscle builder type guy, which also Daniel was. So she was pretty much describing him. They were convinced.
Well, yeah. I mean, the car especially. How would she have known that they were just switching their vehicles over? She would never have known that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Daniel's brought in for questioning. He's questioned for 2 hours. I saw some of the footage on the 2020 that I watched, and, he was pretty, calm, pulled her over. I mean, it was a routine stop, blah, blah, and then all of a sudden nothing inappropriate happened. He was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah. After all these 2 hours, his gun, badge, and uniform were taken from him. And he was put on administrative leave with pay pending an investigation.
Okay, that's pretty routine, I feel like.
Yes, it is. It was found that Daniel, like I said, was off duty and driving
Mhm.
home at the time that he pulled Janie over.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel never called the stop in, which he would normally do, and he had already turned his GPS communications off in his car, which he states is his normal behavior. Like when he's off duty and heading home, he turns all that stuff off, which,
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty normal, I think.
Mhm.
He also said he didn't call it in because he was just trying to help her out with not having it on record when he was just going to let her go anyway. Like, you know, okay, you're not drinking. I thought you were swerving. You have an expired license. Get it taken care of. Go. Plus, I'm sure it's like, well, then he has to do paperwork if he even like calls it in that he has to do. So it's like nothing came of this stop. So I'm not calling it kind of thing.
Okay.
This is what he's saying.
And he just pulled it, and he's saying he pulled her over because
she was swerving.
She was doing like dangerous behavior, and so he was like, "Well, I'm a cop. I have a duty."
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's his thing. Is that's all he was doing, and then he realized everything was on the up and up except for the expired license, and he was just like, "Okay, go get it taken care of. Let's all go on our merry way."
Okay.
So they tested his car for DNA and fingerprints on top of the car because Janie had said that at one point both her hands were on top of the car, and there were none. There were no fingerprints at all on top of his car. They ran DNA tests on his uniform, as they thought there would be some from him or her if all of these sexual acts were performed.
Well, even if they weren't, there still could be touch DNA.
Right, yes. They did find DNA on the inside of the zipper of his pants, and when they ran it, it came back as female DNA, but it was not Janie's.
Okay.
At this point, the investigator on the case was just like, okay, I'm going to find out whose DNA this is. Like, we need to figure that out. That's my, like, top priority. So she begins to investigate all of the females that he came across while on the job. Well, I will say all of the Black females, because this Janie is a Black woman.
So do they know that the DNA is from, like, an African-American woman?
But they just, I don't know why they started that way.
Okay. Well, I guess you have to start somewhere.
Okay. So they literally go knocking door to door to all these women on record that he had pulled over. And they're asking them, has anything ever happened to you when pulled over by an officer or in the custody of a police officer?
Oh, yeah. No, this is not cool.
And they find several women who said that they had been. A few of them were 22-year-old Chardarion. I'm not giving last names in this, even though they're publicized, whatever. But she was high on drugs and handcuffed to a hospital bed, and an officer sexually assaulted her, she said, in this hospital.
Okay.
Carla, who said she was forced to expose herself when she was being searched for drugs and weapons on a stop. And then there was also a woman named Sherry who was just walking down the street when an officer stopped her and searched her and went underneath her clothing to search her.
Mm-hmm.
She stated he forced himself on her and then drove her to an abandoned schoolyard and had her get out of the car, assaulted her again, and then let her go. None of these women were matches for the DNA on that zipper, though.
Okay, and none of these incidents were reported previous to them being specifically asked?
Nope.
Okay.
No. Eventually, though, they do find the match to the person to the DNA. It was a 17-year-old girl that Daniel had given a ride home to just hours before he pulled Janie over.
And how old is Daniel? Sorry.
Daniel's like 22, I think. Let's see. He was born in 86, and this is 2014. 28.
Oh.
28? Yeah? Wait.
And she's 17?
That makes sense. Sorry.
Hold on. Let's math it. We're doing great. Okay, 2014. Yeah. And he was born when?
1986.
28, yep.
I just remember him being 22, like seeing that age at some point in my research, and so it just stuck in my head, but I'm sure it was just something else, like right when he decided to join the force or whatever. So
okay.
Anyway. Yeah. So he gave her a ride home, and then she says that Daniel told her she needed to perform sexual acts because she had warrants out for her arrest and he did not want to take her in. So this is how she could avoid him taking her in. Okay. So there's that. Meanwhile, apparently she had gone home and like told her mom, and it was like recorded in some way that she was like, I just got a ride home from this hot cop and I'm going to date him or whatever. Like, anyway, like, so it wasn't like a big deal to her at the time if these alleged acts happened. Not that I'm saying that.
Well, she's a
Okay.
child.
Yes, she is a child. She's a child. I'm just saying this was mentioned several times, so I'm just mentioning things that I've read.
Okay.
Okay, so 2 months after the initial report from Janie, Daniel gets arrested. And I have a timeline of all the incidents that they do record. Well, of most of the incidents to this point that they record. Okay, so December 20th, 2013 was when the woman was assaulted in the hospital. Okay. January 2014, Sherry, the other woman who was walking home, was assaulted, and she came forward in September 2014. So it had been like 9 months since.
Okay.
February 27th of 2000. All this is of 2014, so I'll stop saying the year. But February 27th, a woman was forced to expose her breasts, and she was touched. All these women in the article that I read were just given like initials. They weren't named publicly. So I'm just anyway, just going to tell you what happened to them. March 14th, a woman was forced to expose her breasts. March 25th, a woman claimed Officer Holtzclaw entered her home with the intent to commit indecent exposure. I don't know how she knows that, but because she wasn't home, but that's what was claimed.
Okay.
And then later on, she was forced to expose her breasts and private areas. March 26th, he allegedly expressed threats of future assault on a woman. April 14th, a woman alleged he touched her breast over her clothes. On April 24th, a woman was forced to perform oral sex after a crack pipe was found in her possession. So basically saying like, I won't report you if you do.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems to be a theme of like, I'll do this for you, but you have to do this for me.
Yes. That's what it's been, because all of these women have some sort of record: prostitution, drugs, weapons, something in their past.
Okay.
April 25th, a woman was allegedly raped. May 7th, a woman was stopped while walking and forced to perform oral sex and was then driven elsewhere and raped. May 8th, another woman was forced to perform oral sex. May 21st, a woman was forced to perform oral sex and raped. May 26th, a woman's breast and private area were touched over her clothing. June 17th, a woman was raped in the Oklahoma City hospital. June 18th, a woman was forced to expose her breasts and was raped. And that
This
June 18th is when
he
was reported by JD.
And they're all pretty consistent.
Yeah.
As far as like, it was a police officer. He said this, you do this for me, I'll do this for you. Like, that's pretty consistent.
In August, he was arrested of 2014 and had 16 charges against him and given a bond of $5 million.
Oh.
However, that was eventually lowered to $500,000 by a judge, and he was placed on house arrest.
Okay.
In the months following, more women would come forward and more charges were just getting added to this list. In all, 13 women came forward stating they had been assaulted. All were Black women with drug, weapon, or prostitution charges in their background. He would eventually go to trial with 36 charges against him in November of 2015. The trial lasted 6 weeks. Only a few women actually came to testify at the trial, one of which came and she was high on PCP at the time that she testified.
Wait, they let her testify?
Yeah, I don't know why. They tested her and knew she was high. Anyway, unless I didn't know she was high until after, because like the drug test came back after the fact.
Oh, like maybe she got on a stand and they were like, oh.
Yeah. I don't know the order of all that. All I know is that it was shown that she was actually...
So we 100% have to throw that testimony out. For sure.
Yeah. Others could not testify because they had then since been arrested and they were in prison for other charges and were not allowed to be released to go to the testify.
Okay.
Janie did come to testify. The jury took 4 days to deliberate, and when they came back on December 10th, 2015, they found Daniel guilty of 18 of the 36 charges, so only half of them. 4 counts of first-degree rape, 1 count of second-degree rape with an instrument, 4 counts of forcible oral sodomy, 6 counts of sexual battery, 3 counts of procuring lewd exhibition. On January 21st, 2016, he was sentenced to 263 years in prison.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, I agree with what you said at the beginning. He sounds like a real a-hole.
Yeah. Right. But okay, so here's where I'm going to talk about a few things, though.
Okay.
So clearly his family, and he's got a ton of, like, his family, his friends, all of his supporters, anyone that is close to him, does not believe for 1 second that he would have committed any of these acts ever in his life, based on the person they knew.
All right.
So let's just keep in mind, because I don't ever want any victims to think that I don't believe them for any reason whatsoever. I am reporting to you the things I have read.
Okay.
And see.
So this is not your personal
not necessarily
findings or opinions at this time. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
One was the DNA found on his zipper. It was portrayed to most people that it was from vaginal secretions.
Okay.
Including during the trial, because I believe I read somewhere that one of the jurors said that that's what they thought, and had they thought otherwise, they may not have convicted for some things, for one of them, for one of these things. They may not have said he was guilty.
Mm-hmm.
But it has been stated in almost all my articles and reports that it was not vaginal secretion. It was just skin to skin, like contact.
Touch DNA.
DNA.
Which, by the way, I have touch DNA on me from the lady at Target today, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's easily transferred to him. And he could have easily, this is what Daniel has said in an interview. I gave her a ride home. I could have gotten her DNA on me. The next time I went to the bathroom, it got on my zipper. Like, why is it one small spot of her DNA is on me if all these things happened?
Okay.
So that's what he would state. There are issues with the no fingerprints on the police car, in my opinion. I don't know. And there's no DNA of Janie at all on him.
Okay.
So I have issues with that. Several women, again, couldn't testify. Like there was the ones that couldn't testify because they were in prison, but there were also ones that were then taken out of the case because it was proven that they were lying or their stories were made up.
Okay. How?
I don't know. They just state these kinds of things. I don't know.
How many of them? Do you know?
Oh, there was probably maybe 5 to 10 others.
Whoa, okay. That's a lot. That it was proven they were lying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So they would join the fight, and then they investigated and they were like, yeah, no, those aren't real. So let's get them out of the case, kind of. So the family and his private investigator believe that all of the women are lying, that because they all have a history of lying, they should not believe. They claim that the detectives handed the women a lottery ticket. This is what was stated in the interview, by approaching them and saying, hey, have you ever been assaulted by the police officer that's being charged on assault charges?
Yeah. You can't do that.
No, you can't. One and I don't have a problem with the investigator per se. She seems like she's very nice, and she just really wanted to solve this case and help this woman and figure things out and whatever. But I don't know that I agree with how she went about doing it. But she stands by it 100%. She believes that what she did is exactly what she should have done. And anyway, so but
okay, and I just want to. You said all of these women were criminals. I mean,
previously
not criminals, had previous charges and had history with law enforcement that could potentially have put them in a situation where they would need assistance from law enforcement, could be persuaded or even bribed, if we can use that word. Okay. Okay.
One of the women who came forward described her attacker as a short black man.
Well, that's okay.
Daniel is a 6'1", if not taller, with his police boots on, large Japanese/American. So kind of looks Pacific Islander.
Oh, right. Okay. That's different. So we can't count her.
Another woman, I think it was Sherry. It was one of the women that I named, but I don't remember which one it was. Denied 5 times in an interview that was recorded. No, I've never been a victim. I've never been a victim, never been a victim, never been a victim. Yes, I was a victim. So they have trouble with that. But it's not uncommon for somebody to like not want to admit that.
Exactly. And not trust law enforcement and
Right.
not want to go against a police
Right.
officer
Right.
because
I just think it's being pointed out because there's a lot of discrepancies, and that's just one more discrepancy to add to the list.
Okay.
Another victim couldn't identify him at all. Like, didn't have any clue as to what he would have looked like.
Okay.
Daniel admits that he interacted with all of these women, but maintains he did not assault them. Like, he's like, yeah, I pulled them over. Yeah, I searched that person. Yeah, I did this. Yeah, I did it. He's convinced the case was manufactured against him because this was just after all the Ferguson riots.
Okay.
And so when all these Black women were coming forward against him or against the police officer, there was this call for action from the community. And so he's convinced that if they did not find a person responsible for this, they would have had like a repeat of Ferguson in Oklahoma City. And so like police felt pressured. That's his theory. And I mean, a lot of people's theories that are his supporters. And he just happened to be the target because he had interactions with all of these women.
Okay. Also, I just want to say, I am looking at a picture of him right now. He's pretty unmistakable. Like,
You'd
and
be able
again,
to
when
describe
it's dark, whatever, but like, he is like, I don't know if you guys remember seeing a picture of my husband, pretty distinguishable in a crowd. Like, this man is like that.
He's large. He's
very large,
he's cute.
very distinct features,
Yes.
very like, what did you say? Japanese?
Like Pacific Islander.
Pacific Islander for sure. Like extremely distinguishable. Yeah. Like think The Rock, only not that race, but like
yeah. Yep. So, it was also stated in one of the articles that information was pulled from his car communication system, and his car was only motionless that night for about 3 minutes and 50 seconds that he pulled Janie over. So like 1:14 and however many seconds to 1:18 in the morning. So there's a question of timing, but we all know, like, if we were to go silent for 3 minutes and 50 seconds, it would seem like a pretty long time. Like,
yes, there's a lot can happen in that.
Yes. So in 2016, there were civil cases that were filed by these women. One dropped out, and then over time, others dropped out by 2017. In 2018, statements were made in some of the civil cases that actually made it to trial that contradicted what they said in their testimonies at the trial against Daniel. But I don't know what those contradictions were. It's just stated that their testimonies were different. The two. The civil cases were eventually dismissed, stating that the police department was not at fault for what Daniel had done. Like, it wasn't for lack of training or their training that they provided or anything like that. Like, he made that decision. Like, it was on him. It was then I don't know when they brought these cases against Oklahoma City, because then they were like, oh, let's sue the city. But in 2023, Oklahoma City settled with 9 of the victims. They were all awarded $18,500, but Oklahoma City did not admit liability. They just were like, let's just settle it and get this done with. They were not saying we're liable for anything. Daniel appealed his conviction in 2017 and 19. Both times were denied. As late as 2022, Daniel intends to continue to fight these convictions. His parents have drained all of their money paying for it. His dad has like no retirement date in sight because they're still paying for all this stuff. And an Innocence Project has come on board to fight for his freedom.
Oh, really? Do you know which one?
I can't remember, but I think I have it linked.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uncuff the Innocent
is
the website. Anyway. Okay. So I'm super torn on this case. Seeing him in the court video when he was found guilty, he just seemed truly devastated. I know people can put on
literally
acts.
Going to ask you if you watched the court footage and what he did when he got the conviction.
Apparently he was pretty like blank during like the trial. And then when they were reading guilty for blah, 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 he was devastated, bawling his eyes out, like couldn't believe, because they had taken 4 days. So he was thinking like he had a good shot of like getting all of this dismissed. the investigator was like, that's not the guy of somebody being devastated. That's the look of a guy devastated that he got caught, was her opinion on it. I didn't see it that way. But again, everyone sees things differently.
Well, we watch a lot of verdicts being read and a lot of people who are found guilty, like getting their verdict. And I do think it's percentage-wise, if you're guilty, you're stoic. Like, you compose yourself pretty well.
Right.
In the majority of the people who we believe are guilty, they're like, yeah. I mean, they're not, you know what I'm saying. Like,
Right.
So it's always interesting to me when someone cries.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, I do want to state, I probably should have stated this like earlier, but I'm not a person who believes that everyone with a criminal past or even like a not so honest past is going to lie about stuff, like everything for the rest of their lives, and that they shouldn't be trusted. But their backgrounds are a factor in this case, unfortunately. Like, you have to think about it in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I agree, but I also think it can go either way.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, it can go either way. Like, they could be totally telling the truth. And I'm not saying that they're lying because of their backgrounds.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, if they are telling the truth, they could go back on the truth because of their background and history with law enforcement. Or they could be lying 100% because of their background and history with law enforcement. Like, that can really go both ways.
Right. Yeah. My biggest hang up with this case is Janie Liggins, that 57-year-old woman who initially reported him and then got this ball rolling. Like, why did she lie? I'm not saying she did. I'm just saying, but why would she have lied? Like, the things that have been stated, there have been other things that have been stated about her that are like reasons why she should lie that I'm not even mentioning because I've not even looked to see if they're 100% true. And I'm not trying to like bring her character into judgment here. Like,
for sure.
She's definitely the person where I'm like, why would she have lied from the beginning? So that's where my hang up is.
And immediately she wasn't one of these ones that was like approached.
Right.
Or came forward later after his name got out there. Like, she immediately went to police and were like, this is what happened to me.
Right. So I don't know. But, with all the like talk about the Ferguson stuff, like, I don't know, getting pulled over by a cop. I don't know. Anyway. Also,
and you said, let me just confirm, all of these women were African-American is what you told me.
And all of them
had criminal past. Okay.
Interesting. Although they say Janie didn't, except somewhere along the line, I found out that she, like, when she, I don't know, like the 80s or 70s or something, she had some sort of charge against her, but it was dropped. Like, she's even stated, like, yeah, I never was even convicted or charged in that fully. Like,
okay,
it was like something stupid. I don't know. It was probably like a protest or something that she like got involved in, and it went away. But somebody, of course, has to bring it up because I'm like, well, it proves that she had a criminal past. But that was so freaking long ago, and she hasn't been in trouble since then. So anyway,
so she's like
say,
really the wild card, right?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Odd woman out as far as like that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Except for the fact that she was a Black woman driving at night.
Right.
Late at night. That's, yeah. So late in my research, I did find a few episodes that was produced by a woman named Michelle Malkin about Daniel's innocence. She is like on a rampage to like prove his innocence. And I started to watch it, but after looking into her background and affiliations, I told you this, I realized that she was not somebody that I would see eye to eye on with many topics, and just made the decision that I didn't want to watch it because I didn't want to include her findings in this episode.
Trust her.
I didn't trust
her opinions. Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
Yes. Based on her affiliations with racial groups.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It wouldn't have been a surprise to me if she was just trying to get him off because it was all Black people that were accusing him. So I just didn't want to even go there. But if you guys want to watch it and check it out, she might have some legitimate stuff in there. I just couldn't stomach it. So I was like, no, I'm not doing it. So anyway, again, I'm not 100% convinced of this case. I'm not convinced there was enough to convict him and send him to prison for 263 years. Personally. But I don't know. He could have done it. He could not have done it. I have no idea. I don't know what to think.
Okay. So I always lean more towards victims that,
Right.
like, I just, not believing them is why people don't speak up.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to not believe him.
And I can definitely see how it went down for him because, okay, so like say he's been doing this for months and months and he picks this one, essentially a bunch of victims, but it's like the same person. Does that make sense? Like an African-American woman who is involved in prostitution and drugs and criminal activity and is very vulnerable and would need a hand up from a cop if they were to get caught. And there's an imbalance of power and an abuse of power. And then, and so they're not speaking up. And then he picks one who is not in that victim profile. And that's the one that gets him caught.
Well, and that's what Janie says. You picked the wrong person to pull over that.
That's right. Yeah. Or the wrong person to victimize.
Yeah.
Because I don't fit. You couldn't bribe me.
Right. Yeah, so except for the fact that she was fearful of her life because he had a gun and he was.
Well, yeah, but then when the fear was gone, she comes forward.
Right. Exactly.
Because she was like, I don't have anything that you can hang over my head because I didn't do anything wrong and I'm not involved in criminal activity. You cannot bribe me. Right. And that's the one that got caught. And so then then they go back and all of these other women are like, well, now I feel safe because now I'm not alone.
Yeah, no.
And I can come forward now.
That's probably 100% true. I just have a problem with the physical evidence.
Right.
In this case.
Okay, so what you're saying is they didn't have enough to convict him.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. He could have done, I don't know if he did it or not. 100%. I can't make that determination because I'm not convinced of all. There was no handprints on the car. There was none of her DNA, Janie's DNA on the car. The DNA that was actually on him was like touch DNA. So like, what is their proof that he did it except for all of these women, which is a thing. That's a big thing that there's that many women. That is a thing.
And okay, so, and it also skews me out, the whole 17-year-old thing. Like the 17-year-old's DNA was on his, okay, now it was touch DNA that was portrayed incorrectly. I get that. Not cool.
Right.
Why is it customary for a police officer to give a 17-year-old person a ride?
And that's the thing that's also been called into question. Like he's done other things, like he has Facebook friended another person that he had arrested or something or whatever search at one point. And his comments are always like, I just want to help the people in the area that I work in. And so, yep, I'll give that girl a ride home. Yep. I'll friend this person and check in on them. Yep. I'm going to go to their house and check in on them and make sure they're doing okay. So like, I have a friend, I don't even want to give too much information out, that does that sort of thing.
Okay.
Because he wants to help his community. But I could see where he could get in serious trouble if one person said something about him.
Well, probably not, because if one person said something about him, it would not slew another dozen people to come forward.
It could snowball. This person is super great and actually got like totally railroaded one time, and because of one little incident, and like it just doesn't make any sense. So anyway, I'm not comparing it to that. I'm just saying like he could have been trying to be a good cop. I'm just playing like devil's advocate because I don't know what to think in this case. I really don't know what to think. Like I can't.
Well, that is interesting because I lean towards guilt.
He did it.
Okay. Maybe not all of them, because I do think that like there were, like you said, and I have to look into it more about the people who was proven that they were lying. I would like to know about that. Like how did they prove that? Like he didn't pull him over at all, so there wasn't possible, or they had no record of him pulling. But you said he admitted to, so I don't know. Anyway, I think it's really coincidental that they can say that he came in contact with all, like, confirmed contact, admitted confirmed contact with all of the women that are coming forward. And it's so many. And
it is an interesting.
It's like he just picked the wrong one. And that's what blew it all up for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel terrible for his family, either guilty or not. That's a real hard thing to live through. Like, if he did it, that would be, if that were my kid, if that were my brother, right? Like, that's a tough pill to swallow because it's such a grand scale of victims.
Right.
You know, they should do a series on, like, that, what was that called? What's that podcast we listened to? Something Was Wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't it sound like a case for that?
Yes.
Where they, like, go and just talk to every single victim, and except all those people are guilty, so I guess that wouldn't.
Right.
Or they lean towards, like, it's guilt-centric. They 100% believe all the victims that come forward, so no, maybe that's not the right one.
Well, and they could be, these people should be believed. I'm, like I said, I don't want to get, like, hate that I'm not believing them. I'm just saying, like, I'm giving you both the sides that are happening right now. This is what they're saying. This is what they're saying. I'm confused. I definitely initially was like, yeah, 100%. Like, but I'm going to be talking about him most of the time, which sucks because we usually, like, highlight the victims.
Right.
You know, and whatever. But
yeah, this is a really different kind of case for us on, like, so many levels.
Yeah. And just a lot of inconsistencies in general that make it interesting and confusing to me.
Yeah, the biggest one for me as far as, like, inconsistencies is his description. Like, that is, I mean, we'll post a picture and you guys just have to go and look and see what I'm talking about. But, like, he's recognizable. Like, he is not going to be, you're just not going to mistake him for, I don't care. You're not.
You're not going to mistake him for a short black man.
Yeah, or even the hair color thing. Like, his hair is, like, black. It's not dark brown or, like, if the light hit it right, you know, it could look lighter. Like, no, his hair is
jet black.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know.
It's fascinating. So
I definitely think guilty. I do. I just think it's too much. It's too many people. It's too consistent as far as the profiles.
Yeah, I agree.
And then how is each one of these women going to know, like, he said to me, you need to do this for me and I'll do this for you. Like, he said the same thing to all of them. And that part is consistent.
Right. Well, I don't know that we necessarily think he said that exact thing to all of them.
Okay.
It is assumed that for some of them that he was doing it because they all had criminal pasts or warrants out or something was found on them at the time. And so it was I don't know that we know for sure that they have said, all have said, I will do this if you. Few of them have, yeah.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Well, even if it was just a few and not all, and some of them are lying, I still feel like I would believe those few.
Yeah.
Over him.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
Right. Which is why I stated that I'm not a person who believes just because someone has a criminal past, they should not be believed.
Right. No, I know. So interesting. This case. Yeah. Who sent this in?
Nicole.
Oh, Nicole, that's right. Oh, she did. She was like, this one is the one I want you to cover.
Yeah, this one is interesting.
Wow, what a doozy. No murder.
Yeah.
Very unlike us. And pretty, so interesting.
Yeah.
What a weird case. Wow. I know that took some digging. All those victims and all those statements and trying to put together.
Well, I mean, a lot of them weren't even named. So it was like, there was like a timeline one that I found that it was like, that was the only one that actually gave me like all these people that said what that actually came forward that were like who they were going to believe, I guess. But anyway, I don't know. Yeah, it was just, yeah. And then I thought I was going to have to watch that documentary. But again, and there could be some stuff that comes out in that. I just could not watch her.
Sounds to me like you have enough information.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we could add anything else to this.
Yeah.
Like,
but she made 3-hour-long episodes. So like she may have found something else that
she's serious.
Yeah. But I just couldn't do it. So If anybody else wants to watch it, it's fine.
No, we throw support in places that we feel like we can support. And if you can't, you can't. And that's just it.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Well, I don't know what to say. I just don't know where to go from here. And like, I will be interested to see what this Innocence Project that is taking this on does.
Yeah.
And listen, unpopular opinion, I don't know if Scott Peterson should be in prison. People don't like to hear that. People think he's an SOB. I don't think that he had enough evidence against him to convict him. Just my opinion. Unpopular. Got it. Maybe this is one of those cases where it's like, do I like Scott Peterson? No.
Do you believe that he did it?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't
sure.
think that I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt that he did it.
Right.
And I think that's how you're feeling about this.
Yeah.
It's like, could he have done it? For sure.
Sure.
But is there enough beyond a shadow of a doubt to convince you of that?
And clearly the jury didn't think there was enough in half of the cases, the charges that were brought against him.
Right. And maybe those were because of the inconsistent, like the person who thought that he was an African-American man. Yeah. I don't think we can convict you of this, sir. But yeah, it's just, and the thing is that you guys have to remember too, is like our opinions are one thing. Like, do we like him? Probably not. Are we going to be friends with him? Probably not. I wouldn't be with Scott Peterson either. But that's the way our criminal justice system works, and we believe in it. And, you know, if they're not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, you cannot send them to prison. Period.
Right.
So there you go. That's what I'm going to say. What do you guys think? Write us in. I know you will. I wonder how many unpopular opinions they will think we have in this episode.
I know. I'm scared. This might be the one that I'm scared most about.
Yeah. Well, we haven't said any. I mean, it's like, it is what it is. This is, you presented all of the facts. It's not up to us. Thank goodness we weren't on this jury. Exactly. We don't have to. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Happy Monday. We probably made your brains hurt. Mine hurts a little bit.
Mine hurts too.
All of our brains. Interesting case. Thank you, Nicole. We'll keep your list. Apparently, I bet you there's a lot more doozies on there. Now, we know you now, Nicole.
Yeah.
We see you. Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. Come find us on social media. You guys have got to look at a picture of this guy for real. We love you. We appreciate you. We have a Patreon. If you like what you hear, come and join us there. And we'll see you next week for another crime. And always remember, the world is scary. People suck. Hide in your closet.